Welcome back to N's Notebook LM. Today, we're diving into the mind of one of history's most amazing polyglots. That's someone who speaks a whole bunch of languages. And we're going to uncover her revolutionary and honestly, super liberating approach to learning them. So if you've ever felt like learning a new language was just this impossible mountain to climb, this one's for you. All right, let's just get right to the heart of it with the one question that stops so many of us before we even begin. Do you need a special talent, some kind of language gene to really get fluent in another tongue? It's this idea that just holds so many people back. Well, the woman we're talking about today, Dr. Kató Lomb, would have given that a huge, resounding no. Her entire way of thinking was built on this one powerful idea. She said, I don't believe there is an innate ability. I want to demystify language learning. For her, it was never about some gift you're born with. It was all about your method and your motivation. So who was this incredible person? This is Dr. Kató Lomb. Back in the 1950s, she became a true pioneer in a field that requires just insane, lightning-fast brain power. She was one of the world's very first simultaneous interpreters, translating live, right as people were speaking. And get this, she wasn't just juggling one or two languages. At her peak, Kató Lomb was interpreting or translating in a staggering 16 different languages. Yeah, you heard that right. 16. This wasn't some hobby for her, this was her job at the absolute highest level. But here's the craziest part, the real twist in her story. You'd think she must have dedicated her entire academic life to languages, right? Nope, her PhD wasn't in linguistics at all. It was in chemistry. She actually got serious about language learning relatively late in life, which just completely shatters that myth that you have to start as a kid or have some natural talent. And that background, coming from outside the world of linguistics, led her to this completely different philosophy, one that totally flips the goal of language learning on its head. It's a philosophy that finds incredible value in, of all things, knowing languages poorly. This might be her most famous quote, and it is so liberating. Languages are the only thing worth knowing even poorly. Just think about that for a second. In a world that's obsessed with being perfect, she basically gave us all permission to be amateurs, to be imperfect, and to see the value in that. And Lomb had the perfect way to explain this. She said, look, if you play the violin poorly, you're mostly just creating a few painful minutes for anyone who has to listen. But if you speak a language poorly, well, even with a few mistakes, you can build bridges, you can ask for directions, you can share a laugh, you can actually connect with another person. Imperfect isn't useless, it's incredibly useful. Okay, so if the goal isn't perfection, then what's the actual method? Well, Lomb used this really powerful metaphor to describe her approach. She didn't see language learning as some boring classroom chore. To her, it was an exciting siege. And here it is. A foreign language is a castle. It is advisable to besiege it from all directions. I love this because it frames the language not as some scary, impenetrable fortress, but as a challenge to be surrounded, to be explored, and ultimately to be understood from a whole bunch of different angles all at once. So what are the weapons for this siege? It's all about total immersion, but in a way you can control. You're surrounding the castle with newspapers, radio, movies without dubbing, even technical papers. The point is to hit it from all sides, so you hear it, read it, and engage with it in all these different contexts. It's a full frontal assault of input. Now, this next idea, this might be the most counterintuitive one, especially if you had traditional language classes. She believed we have it all backward. Her philosophy was, one learns grammar from language, not language from grammar. We shouldn't be trying to learn a language from a grammar book. We should be learning grammar naturally by absorbing it from the language itself. So what's the main takeaway here? The single most important tactic in our whole method was this. Dive into reading stuff you find interesting right from day one. Don't wait until you feel ready. She argued that most of your knowledge isn't going to come from a teacher, but from just getting lost in a good book that you actually want to read. But you might be thinking, okay, that's great, but I can't just pack up and move to another country. And Lomb had a brilliant answer for that too. She said you don't have to. You just create your own personal linguistic microclimate. So what's a linguistic microclimate? It's the little bubble of language you build for yourself right where you are. It's the environment you create with your books, the radio stations you listen to, the shows you watch. It makes immersion a choice, not a location. You could be in the middle of Iowa and still be living in a French microclimate. And how do you actually build it? Her advice was super practical. First, just spend at least 10 minutes every single day with the language. Consistency is way more important than cramming. Second, tie it to your work or your hobbies to keep it fun. And third, I love this one, use what she called autolog. Basically, have conversations with yourself in the language you're learning. It's a practice space where it's impossible to make a mistake. So all of these incredible ideas, they all come together in her final actionable takeaways. She distilled her entire philosophy down into a list she called her 10 commandments for language learning. We've pulled out a few of the most powerful ones here. Tinker with the language daily. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. They're just proof that you're trying. Only memorize sentences that a teacher has corrected for you. That way you don't bake in your own errors. Memorize idioms in the first person, like I am only pulling your leg, so they feel totally natural to say. Besiege that castle from every direction. And my absolute favorite, which is all about your mindset. Be firmly convinced that you are a linguistic genius. She argued that your own confidence is half the battle. So that's the Kató Lomb method in a nutshell. It's fearless, it's joyful, and it's this immersive approach that puts your own curiosity way ahead of perfection. And it really just leaves us with one question, a little call to action from her to you. What castle will you besiege first? If this topic has captured your interest and you'd like to dive deeper, the book is called Polyglot: How I Learn Languages by Kató Lomb.